there guys, so with the release of Tenet a couple of weeks ago, I decided to marathon all of Christopher Nolan films and rank them all. And what I will say about Christopher Nolan, he's one of the best directors of this generation, and he's not really done a bad film. His weakest is still great, but just has flaws. And number 11 is Christopher Nolan's directorial debut, The Following. Now, I always consider this one to be like the prototype to his later films, especially Memento. It's not ambitious, it's just over an hour long, and the audio is unclear at times. But for a micro-budget film that has limitations, it has a simple yet effective story. We're introduced to these characters in these scenarios, and as the mystery elements unravels, it really changes your interpretation of what came before in a different way. And number 10 is Dunkirk. Now, if this was a objective list, this would be like top 5. It is a great war film, and it should be in its own category because it's not character driven, because what drives the story forward is the situation based on a true event, and we get to see it in 3 different perspectives: a soldier's, a pilot, and a civilian's point of view. And Christopher Nolan told the story in such a grounded and realistic and down-to-earth style as possible. The reason why it's not that high on this list, because I'm not really a war film kind of guy. It's not really my favourite genre. That's really the reason. At number 9 is Interstellar. Now, I remember showing this at a cinema that I used to work for at the time, and people would walk out because it was just so long. But it is a great film, Interstellar. It's probably the best Christopher Nolan film to see in IMAX. Everything about this film really ticks all the points because it has great performances, great visuals, great story, great score. But it is trying so hard to be like 2001 Space Odyssey, and it is so long and it does overstay its welcome. And number 8 is Christopher Nolan's most recent film, Tenet. Now, from a filmmaker's point of view, this is probably his most impressive, and it has such a really cool premise. You can transcend it in a different direction in time. You can move backwards by moving forwards, but it does take a while to get your head around. And the thing that really lets me down is that the story and the characters are really generic. And number 7 is Insomnia. Now, this was like Nolan's first theatrical release, and it was a massive win because it starts off as this whodunit story to a moral story that really questions the audience. What would you do in their position? And out of all this film, this is probably the most forgotten. That's a shame because arguably this is like Al Pacino's best performance of this century so far. And Robin Williams does such an underrated performance. And number 6 is The Prestige. Now, I've only just watched this a few days ago. Just watching Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman as his lifelong friend and magicians, but then something unfortunate happens and they become rivals and they try to outdo each other. It's really an interesting story. It has the best twists I've seen in a Christopher Nolan film. It's probably his most darkest film, and watching David Bowie in this is probably like one of my favourite characters I've seen in a Christopher Nolan film. And number 5 is Memento. Now, today it still blows my mind of its storytelling. Guy Pearce plays a character who has short term. He's trying to find out who killed his wife and take him out. Now, at first it may put some people off because it's narrative, but once you get that out of the way, it becomes one of the most uniquest films you've ever seen. This was the film that made Christopher Nolan a great director. He tells a story with 2 different narratives from 2 different time periods, and it's just so revolutionary. And number 4 is The Dark Knight Rises. Now, it's probably the most flawed Christopher Nolan film, riddled with plot holes. But originally, I think Christopher Nolan had another idea for this film, but due to the unfortunate passing of Heath Ledger, he probably had to think of something else. But I still love this film. This is still one of my favourite first-time viewing experiences I had in the cinema. And having Bane as a physicality challenge to Batman is a great way to end this trilogy, since the other 2 films were more of a battle of wits. And I think Christopher Nolan really tried to get the best elements from Batman Begins and The Dark Knight and put them in this film. And number 3 is The Dark Knight. Now, objectively, this is his best film, and I don't really need to talk about much that's already been said. Everything about this film is just oozing with greatness. Whether it's the performances, especially by Heath Ledger, the action set pieces, the score, the cinematography. This film is just so perfect that I hate it. And number 2 is Batman Begins, and I will say Batman Begins is one of my favourite films of all time. Not only it's my favourite origin story to Batman, but it's such a great character study to him. And Christopher Nolan gave the film a grounding and realistic tone that was changed the comic book genre. So my favourite Christopher Nolan film is Inception. No surprise there. I mean, it is probably his best. I know The Dark Knight and Inception are kind of arguably his best film. But I will say about Inception, it was heavily influenced by an anime film known as Paprika, especially in that moving hallway sequence. But man, Inception to me is just mwah. I mean, it has such great set pieces. It has my favourite set of characters to a Nolan film. The visuals are just incredible. It has this mind-blowing concept of going into someone's mind and changing their thoughts. Inception is like one of my favourite films of all time. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Go like, share and subscribe. Let me know what are your favourite Christopher Nolan films. Go check out my Facebook, my Twitter and my Instagram page. You guys are awesome. I got your back.